Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente. Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. I'm Rusty. I took a couple weeks off and it was nice. And it's a little rusty. Got to get out my astrological symbols. Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. Tonight there will be lots of different things going on. Let me take care of a couple of things. And there we go. And we'll get Tyler, ask her to unmute herself. Tyler is our guest tonight from England, which we'll be getting to her in just a few minutes. Now, I want to show you something that happened to me that was just amazing. Before I do, I want to just ask you, I hope you all had a good Christmas. It's nice to have you all back and got a lot more room in your head for new astrology stuff. Anyhow, 3 new people just entered. Let's see who they are. Admit them. And admit them. And admit them. Okay. So it's nice to have you all with me. Now, every year when it gets to New Year's, I do a chart for the United States at exactly midnight for Washington, D.C. These charts are very accurate. I've been doing them a long time. And this chart foretells of what the American experience will be like for the next year. So I did this chart. Here it is. And here it is. New Year's 2022. Are you all used to 22 yet? No. It's going to take a while. Well, anyhow, as you see in this chart, for our coming year, it's really rather striking. We see a pretty prominent Chiron in Aries. But the main thing is these four planets down in the fourth house. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sun, Capricorn. Venus, Capricorn. Pluto, Capricorn. Mercury, Capricorn. These 3 are real close. Well, this is to show you how difficult it is to translate a chart, especially the fourth house has so many meanings. This can mean people want to stay at home. This can mean people are going to stay sequestered because of the virus. This can mean people are hiding from the world and they want to stay in their little bubble, hidden from everybody, safe. It can mean that they're putting a lot of focus on the family, the past lives, the past structure, the lineage of the family. It can mean a lot of things. But it's definitely not a chart that's real outgoing. You do have Mars and Moon in Sag, but you have 4 planets in Capricorn. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. Okay, so you see in that chart, there's this plethora of stuff in the fourth house. Well, fourth house means I want to be safe. I want to be at home. This is a country's chart, and we're a Cancer country. So I'm looking at this chart, and it was just so fabulous at how astrology works. And I remembered that I forgot to put Eris on there. I went fooling around with the charts just before them, and I was taking things off and on, and I forgot to take Eris, put Eris back on. So let me go and put Eris back on. Watch what happened. Just shows you how dynamic astrology is. So here's the 4 planets in the fourth house. Now I'm going to go and add Eris. Where did she go? Here she is. Okay. And look what happened. Look what happened when I put Eris on the chart. Eris the disruptor. Eris the chaotic planet. Eris the chaos. Eris the disruptor. She gets put on her and she's square to Venus, to Pluto, to Mercury. So now I ask her, how much peace do you think you're going to get away with? Do you guys see the Eris? Okay. Well, this changes the dynamics completely. You think you're going to go underneath the rock, underneath the shell, put your head in the sand and be safe? No, Eris is here in the seventh house, square in Aries, retrograde, square to these three planets. So the entire chart changes, just like Eris, to be disruptive, to be surprising, etc., etc., etc. So what Eris is saying now is if you think you're going to stick your head in the sand, forget it. You're not going to. She's not going to allow it. And she's square to Pluto. So it was marvelous to see how I did the chart. She wasn't there. And then she came out of nowhere. And then, oh, wow, now look. So what she's saying now is, if you think you're going to solve America's problems by putting your head in the sand and playing it safe, forget it. That's simple. It ain't going to happen. So at the personal level, this means if you're going to try to hide from your responsibilities, from your destiny, from your evolution, forget it. It ain't going to work. The planets are not going to let you do it. They're not going to let you do it. Now, what does this say about all the astrologers that still are not following Eris? Shocking. Now, we all know it's true anyway. Now look at the government, look at social entities, look at organizations and stuff. Do you think they're going to put their head in the sand and get away with it now? Eris is here. Eris is here, everybody. So, you guys that are typing below, I cannot respond to you because I don't have the time to read your messages. I'm sorry. So anyhow, welcome you folks listening in on YouTube. What this means is, if you think you're going to have all this peace and the fourth house can be growing and sustaining and fixing your nest so it's nice and comfort for you, fine. But you're going to have to keep dealing with the Eris in the seventh house. That means you're going to have to change and become assertive on how you deal with people. Change and become assertive, Aries, on how you deal with people. Seventh house, other people in your community, other people in your family, other countries. You're going to have to come to life. You're going to have to show it. You're not going to be able to just go in quietly and fix your little nest. Throw out the wet grass, put in the dry grass. Ain't going to happen. So Eris is in charge. It's going to be one big disruption to the entire country. And if you think that 2020 and then 2021 and now it's 2022, if you want the virus to go away, that means nothing. If you want it to go away, doesn't mean it's going to. This planet does not mean it's going to go away or stay. But this planet means you're going to have to get active. You're going to have to be playing ping pong on your toes. Get up on your toes. Okay? That's how you have to fight this energy. Be up on your toes, be ready to go. If you think it's going to be stay in the fourth house and be hidden and careful, ain't going to happen. Now, I happen to do it for Australia also, because I'm going to be sharing this same kind of thing with Ksenia Moore, who is a really fine Australian astrologer, and she has thousands of followers. She's been on my show and I've been on hers, and we've agreed to talk about it. And we're going to do a show on the Australian chart, which is done for their capital in their country, and you get a different house structure. In other words, midnight is experienced at different times. So that's why their chart is different than the American chart. This chart holds true for 2022, the entirety of it. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it means don't try to hide. Get up, be public, talk about what you got to do, attack existing structures that won't get with it, and by all means, attack things that are unfair, to attack things that are unjust, and get with it. Because if you don't, this planet is going to disrupt your life. And this planet is not like Pluto. This planet is really crazy, crazy nutso. See any crazy nutso leaders around America anywhere? Okay, now, schedule coming up. What's happening with Astrology Unplugged? Well, we are going to continue. I don't know what's going to happen afterward, but Tyler's with us tonight. We've got 5 more weeks of guests that are I'm going to continue working. Really enjoy working with people, trying to help them get unstuck. And then we'll get the Reverie Great Keen, who's usually with us on December and June. This time he'll be with us February 17th. So if you're looking to see Greg, he will be back 2/17. Okay. Now, I want to say hello and welcome to Tyler from the northwest corner of England. 2-3 in the morning there?
It's just after 1.
Oh, okay. Well, I've looked at some of your pictures on YouTube, on Facebook, and it looks to me like you've partied a little bit here and there. You friends look like you're having a great time. So I don't think it's going to kill you being up this late, do you?
Oh, I'm getting on a bit now, but I'll manage.
Oh, I really want to come and live in England for a couple of years.
It's lovely. I do like it. It's nice.
I just so many things I want to go. Well, welcome to the show, and I want to ask you a couple questions. And your chart is ready to go. Your chart is very difficult, very, very difficult. And don't take that as an affront, because it's not. Because sometimes charts just are difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it means. And as I said to you, I'd like to read for you over and over because I think more and more would come out.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a pretty good feel what I think, and I've put 3 or 4 hours into studying this already, which I never do. And my girlfriend looked at it too, and we're both rubbing our chins because she's quite an astrologer. What do you do for a living, Tyler?
So currently I'm working as a drugs and alcohol worker. I work with rough sleepers who are homeless at the moment, but I'm looking to change that. Addiction and mental health have been a theme in my life.
Addiction and mental health?
Yeah, with my parents and then myself throughout adulthood and childhood. And I feel like I kind of thought I was breaking a cycle, but stepped into another karmic cycle by creating a career around supporting people through addiction and mental health crisis.
Well, your chart shows some of that, and I think we're going to work around it and just see how we do with it, okay? As you know, I work very much like with a great big glob of clay, and I just start shaping it and forming it. You've seen enough of the shows. Mm-hmm. And then we'll see what we can do. But I don't do this by myself. I need to work with you.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm glad you've been listening for the past several years. That's very nice. I'm losing the frog in my throat. Are you married, lady?
No, I'm not. Single. I'm a mother, though. I do have a child.
Well, how old is your child?
He's 11. He'll be 12 on Valentine's Day, actually.
11 going on 18.
Tell me about it. He's huge. He's a giant. He's much taller than me. He's much bigger
He's
than
a
me.
Valentine, so he's an Aquarian.
Yes, he is.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Aquarian,
Smart.
Aquarian, Sun, Moon, Scorpio rising.
Oh, boy. I bet he's a smart one.
He is very, very.
And keeps you. Well, the good thing about them is they take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They're very independent. Yeah. Well, among many other things. Well, let's welcome you to the show and welcome you to our beginning of our 6th year of Astrology Unplugged. And let's get your chart up on the screen so all the people can look at it and go, wow. Because that's what I did. Okay. Here's Tyler's chart. As you see, you've got a Leo, and it's not only a Leo, but the sun squares the ascendant. So when you have a sun squaring the ascendant, the person picks up solar qualities. So you pick up extra qualities. So I knew right away when I saw Tyler that I would get a great big smile. And I've looked at her pictures on Facebook, and I saw lots of pictures with great big smiles. Okay, you can see the complexity already with all the lines and the Grand Cross. We see Mars is rising. Mars is really, really important because he's over there by himself on the ascendant. So you see all these planets are in a fan, like a bucket pattern, and here's the handle. So this Mars is a big deal. You got Taurus rising, you got Mars in Taurus, you got the sun in Leo, we got a very strong Pluto opposition to Mars. So I would say, Miss Tyler, you've got a tendency to be a little bit stubborn. A little bit, she said. Okay. And we know she's charming with that lovely moon in Libra, which is a nice thing to have. The Mercury is in Leo, so we know she's quite creative. She's got Jupiter and Chiron in the fourth house. We don't know what that means yet. We got a Venus in Cancer, which is nice and sensitive. And that Venus is very important because that Venus is right opposite Neptune. It's too wide to be opposite Saturn, and it's really opposite Uranus. So that Venus is really interesting to me. This is how you socialize with people, how you like to be treated. And the Venus is opposite Uranus and Neptune. And it goes right along the midheaven. An hour before this, an hour born later, the whole thing would shift. But she's born with it right there. So this Venus opposite Neptune is extremely powerful, maybe the most powerful part of the chart. Venus in Cancer opposite Neptune. We're going to get to the Saturn in a minute, but the Venus opposite Neptune means that you're quite the romantic.
Yeah.
And Venus in Cancer means you like to be treated like a lady.
Yeah, I do.
Even with that strong Mars. That strong Mars is a cowboy. But with that Venus in Cancer, you want to be respected. You want, above all, with being a Leo, you want your dignity to be withheld.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody disses you, if somebody disrespects Tyler, put the X up on the screen. She's done with him. Right?
Yeah, I've been told I've got a silver tongue.
Yeah, well, what also I like about it is if somebody disrespects one of your friends, you're gonna come out.
Yeah, probably more so for my friends than myself, actually.
Because you're really into people's dignity. Now, the thing that really is going to be the question about this chart is not just the Venus and the Neptune, but the Pluto Mars goes right across the ascendant. That's really, really powerful. Let's take a look at them. They're the two stories in this chart. All right. So we see right across the ascendant, Mars within 2-3 degrees, Pluto about 8 degrees, but it's still going across the ascendant. And we see Venus going opposite Neptune, and the T-square that it creates. Now she's back in here running around. I can't figure out. The Venus opposite Neptune going to Eris, unless it is Eris, and Eris is opposite the moon. So what are we going to say about Venus? Treat me sensitively, square to this radical woman opposite Eris. Moon opposite Eris. She is a hellacious fighter for women's rights, period. Period. And I mean, with the capital H on there, and the Brits would say hellacious. They wouldn't pronounce the H, right? Is this right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're really big on women's rights. This doesn't come from out of the blue. This comes from the past life.
Mm.
But before we get to that, I saw something else. This is very intriguing. I saw something else. When Saturn is retrograde, it sometimes implies a distant father. When Saturn is retrograde in Capricorn and it's near the midheaven and it's in the 10th house, this is a problem with the father. There's no question about it. How did I know that? Just by asking questions. I ask other people, is there a problem with the dad? No. Is there a problem with the dad? No. So through time, that's how you learn these things. You don't get it from a book. If a book tells you that Saturn retrograde means that, no, you have to investigate. But we see a really big problem with the father as far as being a role model, as far as being not available. You couldn't find him. He wasn't there. What happened with Dad?
My dad's been a drinker ever since I can remember, really. Okay. So when my mum split up when I was about 4 and my brother was 2, but like he was always involved in her life. It was just there was always something that came above us, and he became quite ill when we was teenagers, and it's just something that he's never really been able to get hold of. And I felt the need to kind of take control of things. And
of course you did, and that's all your work, work with alcoholics.
Yeah, so that impacted our relationship. But then my dad had quite a challenging relationship with his mum, and then he was totally heartbroken between what happened between him and my mum. So my dad has got issues with women because of these 2 really important women in his life have let him down. So we struggle sometimes.
Okay, I understand. Now, I'm sorry to hear this. This shows up in the past life chart. That's really where it comes from. He's just simply playing a role. You've heard me talk before about this. Yeah. He's playing a role, which you needed him to play. We're going to get into that. And your past life chart is even harder to figure out than this one is. So we're going to do what we can and sneak up on it. Now, what sign is he?
My dad is Gemini sun, but he's born on the 20th of June.
So... Okay, so he's on the cusp. So he's 2-3 different people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, when we go look at your past life chart, watch this. We'll go into it. Here's the past life chart, which I call the spiritual transcript chart. It shows me what you were like, what you have been like in general through many lifetimes spiritually. Do you go towards God? Do you go away from God, the universe, whatever you want to call it? Well, one of the things we see this major right away is Uranus is sitting right on the ascendant in Gemini. And that means you're into everything. You're just into everything. And all these lifetimes, you want to study this, you want to study that, you want to talk about this, talk about that. You're just a jack of all trades. Now, I'm not sure we have the same slang as you do, but I'll try to use whatever British slang that I do know. It's a whopper. Okay, here's the retrograde Saturn. Here's the wild child. Here's the retrograde Saturn. Here's the wild child. Here's the retrograde Saturn. What's the retrograde Saturn thing? So I'm in Sagittarius, and she's breaking the rules. Yeah, but I want to be free. Yeah, but she's breaking the rules. But I want to be free and do all this stuff. Yeah, but she's breaking the rules. This is a huge fight that's gone on for many lifetimes. All right, time out, let that be. Here's the Mercury in Pisces. So she's got the drifting mind, the artist mind, the photographer mind, the sensitive mind, sensitive to people with drug issues and all that, and drifting in and out of strong intuitive visions. And it's opposite Neptune. It's right opposite Neptune, close, retrograde. Okay, so we don't know what this means, but we see that spiritually, we just look at this chart as Tyla through her many lifetimes. We're so focusing on the Tyla soul. She's had very romantic visions of what God is, but she's real confused because she thinks that God's trying to limit her. She always thinks that no matter what I do, he's always trying to rope me in. He's trying to tie me down. I want to go. He's trying to tie me down. And what you find out with these types of charts is most of it is just your own perception. There's really nobody out there trying to tie you down or stop you, but it's mostly you because of how you've been taught, how you're supposed to act in front of God, how you're supposed to worship God, what you're supposed to say in front of the church, etc., etc., etc. Well, it's my opinion that you're right now on this show because you're going to break free of it. You've seen it before. You saw it coming. People knew it. You're not on this show by happenstance, talking with these people all around the world.
Very true.
Today is the day when you're going to be making major headway with this issue. So a lot of what held you back through your past lives before you even took this one, we'll get into that later, is this dogma, these rules that you were fed. You were fed these rules. This is how it goes. This is how you behave. These are the rules. And you saw them as being really opposite of what you want to do because you're really anything goes. Let's go. I want to have fun and let's get into stuff. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, 100%. It's making a lot of sense.
Okay, tell me through the years how you've experienced this.
So I've always been quite artistic. I've sang from like a very young age and I wanted to be a singer. And then kind of like had jobs in my late teens, but then I fell pregnant with my son at 19. So since then, it's always been a case of having to pursue a career that's stable and secure.
Back to when I told my girl before this show that I thought you were a singer. Okay. Now, so what I want you to understand about this, the past life chart is not in concrete. What I've discovered about it, and I've worked a lot with it for the past 5 years, it is your perception. It's not how God feels about you or the church. It's what you think they think.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I have ended up finding out is they don't care. They don't care. We get all this stuff. Well, God would be unhappy with you and all that. Blah, blah, blah. God's not unhappy with you and all this worshiping. Who needs worship? Do you think God needs worship? He doesn't need worship. We need worship.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks to me like you come out of these past lives. You went ahead and took a lifetime. And I want to ask a question here. So we're going to come back to this. I want to get into something related to this, and we'll come back to this in just a minute because it reminded me of something. Let's go back to your birth chart. It'll all start to fit together. Now, Tyler, you'll notice that you're a young lady. You're 20.
31.
31. Okay. So just a couple of years ago, Saturn went around and returned.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2-3 years ago, now Saturn's up here. So Saturn's gone all the way around and it's gone past, it's up here now. So that being your father,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and Neptune being drugs and alcohol, and this being jobs and careers, what happened in that area in the last 2-3 years with your dad and with your job?
So I only started the role as a drugs and alcohol worker in 2020. So I got the job in March 2020, started in May.
Okay.
So I've been doing that job since then. And then just recently, over the past weekend, there's been an incident with my dad and his health and in his alcohol. And it's been a theme of our conversations, obviously, my new job for the past 18
Okay.
months.
Well, what I want to get to is this with you. We don't really have to get into what's happened with your dad because that's his life. When the Saturn return happens, usually there's a lot of sobering up, or wanting to stop partying, wanting to sober up, wanting to get married, wanting to settle down. You start to come together rather quickly. So usually when you see somebody about 31, you wonder what happened to them at 28, because that's when the real gateway was. So we're seeing you 3 years after the fact.
Yeah.
But what happened to you about 3 years ago compared to right now?
A relationship breakdown. A relationship ended and I graduated as well. I was completing my degree.
Okay.
And then a friendship ended as well around about that time.
Okay, now as you've seen this show, you know one of the main themes here. Was it a relationship that really did need to end?
Yeah, it did need to end.
Okay. Did you find a lot of freedom come from it as soon as it ended?
No, it wasn't in that sense. No. There was a lot of grief and loss surrounding the ending of that relationship because there was children involved. So he had a daughter, and there was my son, and there was lots going on.
Not easy, not easy.
No, okay. It's not.
All right. Well, in general, since you've let go of an unhealthy relationship, you're going to be better off in general. It's just you're not getting the normal fireworks that would happen if it weren't so complicated. Okay. As Saturn continues through your 10th house, goes on into your 11th house, you can pretty much look forward to career success. Okay. Mainly because you're going to really want to do it. When it gets out of the 11th house in about 4 years, you're going to start thinking about wanting to do something else. And it may be just at a different level. Well, I wanted to see what happened there because I knew it was a big deal. What sign, may I ask, is your mother?
My mum is a Pisces sun.
Okay. She's a Pisces. All right. Now I want to go and show you this in your past life chart. Oh, that was interesting. That was not a typo. This is your chart for the year. This is your solar return for your last July birthday. And I wanted to show you that in your solar return, which are very accurate, look at where the moon and Neptune are. In the house of work, in learning, job skills, alcoholism. Put all that together. That's what that means. Alcoholism, tremendous development of spiritual intuition, yes, but this is really focusing on learning job skill sets that will help me deal with alcoholism on whatever level. Okay? Now, let's go back to the 12th harmonic. All right. This is the past life stuff. And we see where you've always been very charming with the Venus and Mars together, especially opposite Jupiter. You've always been kind of fun. But I tell you what, there's an explosive side to you. You just now and then everybody thinks everything's hunky-dory, and then boom, you're a powerful personality. True or false?
True. I'm learning to keep it within socially acceptable parameters as I grow older.
I see. Well, I looked at your pictures once again, and I saw an awful lot of people having fun. So it seems like you have a lot of good company.
Yeah, I do. I'm very lucky.
Now, the one thing that I noticed here was this. In your natal chart, all right, the planet Uranus goes around every 84 years. And it goes around and makes a right angle every 21. So just recently, Uranus went over the 11th degree of Taurus. And it got to 12 and it went to 13 and 14. And it's been in this area. So it's right in that area right now. And it's just leaving that Mars now. And what Uranus is doing is trying to bring that Mars to life. Now, that Mars is a dangerous Mars because that Mars lives with that itchy trigger finger because it lives at all times opposite Pluto. So when Uranus gets done with this Mars, and very soon, next few months, gets to 14, then it'll be opposite Pluto. Okay, so what this means, it can mean many, many things, and it can be very, very positive. The Mars-Pluto in a natal chart is very difficult to translate. It basically means this person has so much concentrated one-pointed power that when she uses it, look out, she can make the mountains move. But also, if she uses it incorrectly, she can really hurt somebody, hurt their feelings very deeply with rage and really wish she hadn't. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you need to understand with Pluto Mars there, where it comes from. It basically comes from a past life from abuse from a man or males. This could be such as men forced you into the army, forced you into being in the front line, forced you into a lot of battles and army and weaponry and stuff like that. It could be all kind of things, but it's aggression, being forced to deal with aggression before you're ready to deal with it. And this has become one of the main issues in your life because Pluto Mars is sitting on your ascendant. Now, the good thing is you want to keep that energy there because it's really powerful and nobody better mess with you. Don't try to back Thailand the corner. It is not advisable. But the negative side is sometimes you'll explode out of proportion in which you hadn't. Okay? Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea who this man was, or was it a group of men? Was it the armed forces? What kind of force was this?
I'm not sure. I feel it may be connected to an ancestral past life.
Yes.
From my Caribbean, from the Caribbean side and African side of my
wow.
I've got this, I've had a fear of, really deep open water, like ocean water, and rats, since being a very young age, and I hadn't made sense of it until a couple of months ago, and it started to I'd had a few dreams and things started to slot into place where I feel it was a memory that I brought from a past life into this life. So I feel that it's connected to that, possibly.
I think you're exactly right. And this is a very difficult thing to unfold. Let me give you what I got on this, okay? And then you can do what you want with it. When Uranus hits things, it wants you to be free of it.
Mm.
So we've had a fight going on for a long time between Pluto and Mars.
Mm.
And that means I want to do Mars and Taurus is I want to go out in the garden. I want to dig. I want to get my thumb in the dirt. I want to grow beautiful things. And Pluto says, oh, no. I want you to be more meaningful than that. Not just dig in the dirt, not in the garden. I want to go back in the garden. Let me alone. I want to be a hobbit. I want to dig in the dirt, have my little hobbit hole and all that. And Pluto says, oh, no. Because Pluto is the boss because she's the queen and she's big time and she's powerful. She wants you to mean more, to have more meaning. Well, there's no reason at all that your Mars can't feel fine. Your Mars is the handle of the bucket here. So what you're trying to do now, and the reason you're on this show, is to have this Mars-Pluto translated to you, because Uranus is sitting there, and Uranus is going to be at 14 opposite Pluto.
Mm.
So the danger of it over the next couple of years is that you could really get into some explosive situations or be around explosive people that you wish you hadn't. The positive side is that you can really release tremendous pent-up energy. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to recommend to you a couple things,
Okay.
just from my experience. Number one, I'm going to really recommend you get into martial arts,
Okay.
not for trophies,
No.
but to learn to get that energy out of your body. You've got very powerful muscular extension that it wants out. I mean, I've been in situations where I've just felt almost like electricity's coming out of my hand at certain times. I could see you being twice as intense. Okay?
Yeah.
The more you express your energy in a healthy way, the less problem you're going to have from Pluto and Mars.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, if you've got a problem with a male or anybody, you do not want to suppress it.
Okay.
You do not want to express it. So what do?
Transmute it.
Well, you're just going to have to figure out your middle way with that, because you don't want to keep it in and you don't want to wring somebody's neck. Right?
Those days are gone.
So what you're going to do, like you said, transmute it. Yes. Try to be very firm with people. If they're pissing you off, be firm about it. What is the reason why? And you're not taking any more. And I'm drawing the line here and leave it there. So you're going to have to find a balance.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is nothing to be fooled with.
Okay.
This will go on off and on for the next couple of years. What do you feel in this? I'm giving you the archetypal symbols. What do you feel this is about?
I feel it's about a few things for me, centered around my relationship with men and being able to kind of feel heard and express, but not feel like I have to match their masculinity, their energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So being able to deal with conflict with men in a more feminine way rather than dealing with it in the same masculine energy.
Well, may I ask you, what do you mean that you're uneasy around men at times? What's that mean?
I'm not, it's very complex. So most of the men in my life are very big men who can be very aggressive at times. I've been around lots of aggressive men, but then I've also seen my mum challenge big aggressive men and fight with men. You know, and there's been some things where I've seen the power of a woman against a man. So I don't have that same immediate fear that a man's going to physically harm me. So sometimes when I approach conflict with men, I find that I approach those situations with very fiery masculine energy, because
Right.
I don't feel
Right.
I don't feel vulnerable, so I can meet them with that. And I want to be able to deal with those types of conflict in better ways so it doesn't turn into...
Okay, excellent answer, but I want to give you a twist on this, all right?
Okay.
Excellent answer. I want you to think about this. There is no masculine energy that we're talking about. There's only God's energy. See, this is telling me, and I'm learning myself watching this with people, this is where you've put God. It's not really where you put him. It's where people told you to put him. So you put him there. Now you're realizing, why did I listen to these people for? Because you've turned God into the angry Old Testament God that's going to come and kick your butt. He's going to do that to you. See, he saw what you did. He knows what you're doing. He's going to come get you and grind you out. See, that's what they taught you. whatever, even well-meaning people.
Mhm.
But that's what the dogma has effect on you. And see, this is the whole issue that you're breaking through now. You're going to start to see God as a much more peaceful, forgiving, loving entity. And because of that, everything else is going to get the pressure taken out of it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Next thing I saw. You got a good handle on this. I can also tell that you've been listening to the Astrology Unplugged, and you've learned a thing or two in the past couple of years. I would hope so. Now watch this. Watch this. All right. In the 12th harmonic, Neptune is sitting right here. Neptune moves very slowly. And Neptune is a 2021 Pisces. This is the top of your chart. This is your past life. This is the Pisces part of you. Let me just tell you what I think that means. That means that deep inside you, that's connected to many, many lifetimes. I don't know how to say this exactly. There's this new referee in town. And I know you guys are soccer fans and call it football and all that. You've got a new referee in town who's just stopped the game and said to you, all right, everybody, just chill out. Psh, this is really, really major stuff in your chart. There's this whole thing coming to your past life now, because you see, I experienced this once. Your past life is going on at the same time right now. They're not then and now. They're all gone at the same time. That blew my mind. So what's happening to you is there's this kind of whitish gray cloud coming across you that's coming across all this. What have we talked about so much so far? Fighting, energy, energizing, fighting, critical, alcohol, tension filled. That whole thing's going away. That whole thing's getting softened now. And because you're opening up at a very deep level now, you're opening up spiritually, you're past your Saturn return, you're trying to solve Uranus on Mars, and Neptune's on you now. Neptune wants you to live a more refined life, a quieter life, more pastels, go out near a lake by yourself. And your chart's really a lot of get on stage, whoop-de-doo, and let's do a lot of Gemini Leo stuff. But now all of a sudden comes this new energy that's a real refined, quieter, tamer energy. Does that fit with you?
Yeah, it does. But also, I'm hoping to kind of like have a bit of a career change where I start to pursue some of my more of my creative talents and performative talents. Like I think I'm trying to launch my own podcast over here in the UK, where I talk about some of my experience and kind of have an interview platform where we can talk about quite challenging topics and issues that people face in day-to-day life with kind of like a working class view on that. So even though I want to be up in front of the stage, I feel like I'm a little bit more mature now. And like you say, refined with with my purpose and the message that I'm trying to.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I will say to you, when Neptune is extreme in your chart, as it is, these are the heights of alcoholic involvement, so getting involved with it, etc. But since your Saturn return has happened, we're going to start looking at your job and career and that stuff next. But, I have a good friend here in America who's been able to mix. She's an art therapist. So she uses her arts, which is so important to Leos. It just is. But she uses it with rehab with people with different kind of issues. Have you thought along those lines?
Yeah, I have thought about that, and I've thought about potentially further study to do a clinical. I've got a bit of a thesis for a PhD thesis around psychology and astrology, which would be really interesting. So I've thought about kind of pursuing that, but I feel for the moment I need a break away from care. And I know I'm learning to understand that this isn't selfish now, but I feel like I need a break away from caring for others for a short while so I can
That's right. That's
pour
right.
that into
That's right.
myself and be able to get
That's a-
myself into a position where I can help others
and
again.
that is the Uranus going over your Mars, because it can be confused with being selfish. Well,
Yeah,
Uranus over Mars is, I want to do things my way.
yeah,
I just want to do things my way. I don't know why, I just want to. And I'm insisting on it. And it's not selfish. Um, the thing about your Pluto Mars is you really need to study a lot about Pluto Mars because it's so dominant in this chart, and get all the different aspects of it and different authors' opinions of it. Because the problem with Pluto is Mars is blunt. Mars should be blunt. I want to go to the store. Give me an apple. Give me that apple. I got the apple. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to pay for it. Just give me the apple. That's just how Mars is. When Pluto's with it, it's give me all your damn apples and back off. So you got to watch Pluto when you see the co-ruler. Pluto's a ruler of Scorpio, and before Pluto was found, the co-ruler of Scorpio was Mars.
yeah.
And what that means is when Mars wants to do something very headstrong, Pluto says, sure, go ahead, do it. So you got to watch that. And like I said, you don't want to water it down. You want to always keep your strength, but you do want to temper it so that it's not obnoxious. And you seem to have a very good, charming energy there to really counteract it. And that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Let's go look at your sixth harmonic. This is another harmonic I look at. It is a derivative of the birth chart, and it really is about your work, your destiny, your hero's journey. What are you here to do? We already saw in your past life, saw Pisces at the top and Neptune's there. So you really want to save the world. There's no doubt. Tyler wants to save the world and get rid of all alcoholics at one time, heal them all at one swoop.
It's the trauma. That's the root of it all. It's just the trauma. I'm on a
That's exactly right.
mission to heal
That's
trauma.
exactly right. Okay, let's get into the sixth. All right, here's the sixth. I've not even looked at it yet. All right. Look what's rising once again. Uranus in Scorpio. Sun's over here in Aries. Venus and Mars are together. All these charts, Venus and Mars are together. That just gives you your charm and your pizzazz, the it factor they talk about. Look what's on the top of this chart. Leo. So there's very good reason to believe in a career that's artistic or singing or music. But look what's opposite. Oh, no, you can't do that. You got to go help people. Oh, yeah, I want to. Oh, you got to help people. But I want to do my thing. But you got to help people, and back and forth. So you got this sixth harmonic that's busy fighting with itself. And this thing is wrong. This thing is wrong if it thinks it's helping you by keeping you suppressed, because it's not. Because the more you express yourself in a healthy fashion, the more you're going to want to allow other people to be that way. Right? Okay. So what do we see in this chart? A grand trine, Uranus to Jupiter to the moon. Okay, this tells me that you're very comfortable living in situations that change quickly. If you had to live in chaos, you'd be fine. A lot of people fall apart, especially with Venus and Cancer. Not you. You can handle it. Is that true?
Yeah, last year was crazy. I moved house 3 times in 6 weeks, and new city, new job, new schools, new everything. All, and the trigger point was the ceiling collapsed in my son's bedroom, and the next day we was living in a new city.
The ceiling collapsed in your son's bedroom. Wow, is that symbolic? Wow.
Yeah, it was literally like, and it was really strange because for a few weeks before and after we moved, there was just ceilings collapsing with water everywhere I went. In the train station, in the building that we moved into a few days later. It was crazy.
That's extremely symbolic of the heavens caving in on you. And when there's water involved, it's always Pisces and Neptune. It's spirit coming closer to you. So what I think that meant was your spiritual life was changing like crazy all around you, and other people around you couldn't put up with it. They didn't understand it. They thought something was wrong, but it wasn't anything wrong. It was you were just going through this radical, quick change with all this. So what I think is happening, and I think it's time now that we zoom out a little bit. We've been zoomed in. It's really obvious to me that you've really had a very lively past life. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Creative, fun, smart, jack of all trades. But along came some folks that got aggressive with you and started to shove things down your throat as far as God's laws. And it affected you for a while, but you're very smart and you got a lot of cleverness and you got a lot of intuitiveness. And I'm really surprised. You should be a lot more arrogant than you are. You have a very arrogant chart, and you're not arrogant.
I think I'm hyper aware of it.
Yeah, but see, that's a very good sign.
Yeah.
Venus Mars can be a narcissist commonly. You're not showing the signs, and that means you've transmuted those. And that's a really good thing.
Thank you.
So therefore, I think Marcia would agree. She's the one in the middle here. She's worked on Broadway for 150 years. I think you could go on your own Broadway show and do whatever you want to do. Put on any show you want, and you're going to be just fine. I think you need to take your lid off.
Thank you.
Because nothing's going to happen to you when you do. I mean, what I'm saying is, sky's not going to fall.
Nope.
Nobody's going to come to get you. Nobody's going to arrest you. Just do it, because you've got such a beaming, strong, loving personality. Just take the damn lid off and start shining.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
Now I know why you've been watching my show. Like attracts like, right?
Yeah. Well, certainly.
Yeah, I really think you're on your way. I think if you continue working with alcohol healing or sex abuse or whatever kind of abuse it is, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine. I think you're going to be just fine, because you're going to be so positive, you're going to attract a lot of people to you who are positive. And with Pluto and Mars like that, you're going to attract very powerful people. Very powerful people. That's how it is. That's how it works.
I've noticed that. I was lucky enough to work quite closely with Jeremy Corbyn when he was leader of the Labour Party when I was working in politics. And funnily enough, that was 2018. In return.
There you go. There you go. Well, what are the things that you would like to do?
What I would really like to be able to do is create a platform to be able to discuss certain things and use my experiences, very real life experiences, to help other people heal. But I also want to be able to set up some organizations that will create a large community impact. But I still want to be a singer as well. I can't.
Well, you can always sing. You can
I
always
know I can always
just
sing.
open your
I
lips
know.
and start singing. Okay,
I
let
know.
me ask you a crazy question. You ready for this one? What do you think about starting a talk show?
I think I'd like that. And it's funny you say that, because when I was at high school, we used to have a talk show in the UK back in the noughties called the Trisha Goddard Show. I think she might have even come over to the States one time. And my mum actually featured on one of her episodes. But
Well, if you get a talk show, I want to be a guest through Zoom. You
most certainly.
book me in and I'll get on there and read for the Queen or something.
Yes, that would be brilliant. I don't know whether I've got contacts that I could meet the Queen. I'm a Republican, but I'm sure I'm sure we could find somewhere.
Well, Tyler, what I want to say to you is a couple of things. I told you your chart is not easy. You've got so much Gemini in you. You've got so much talent to do so many different things. Mm-hmm. What I want to say is a couple of things. Number one, investigate real clearly, even with a yellow pad, whenever you start to stop yourself. Who said that? What did they say? What did they mean? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got some seeds in there that are still wanting to jump up and stop you and hold you back and call you selfish. And they're wrong. They're just wrong. So you need to really be aware of when you start to stop yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just no place for it. There's no place for you to stop. You know, Leo is ruled by the sun, fixed fire. Fixed fire means the fire is always on. It doesn't get moderated. It just keeps shining. That's what it does. So I think a talk show, something related to it, would be excellent. I want you to consider, don't be disappointed if you try A, B, C, and it doesn't work. Then you try D, E, F, and it works for a while. Okay? Don't be worried about it. Mm-hmm. Don't be worried about it, because you've got Neptune working through you now. At the top of your spiritual chart, Neptune is not stupid. It's very intelligent. It's the God energy. It is the Holy Spirit energy. It will guide you. It will guide you into a place of feeling like you belong. Mm-hmm. And then you can sing.
Yay. Wonderful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, you're certainly welcome. What questions might you have?
I'm really rubbish at asking questions. I'm terrible for that. No, we'll have to throw the talk show out of the window then, won't we? One thing was, I noticed that my ascendant was on Taurus, which whenever I've done any online and any of my charts, it's always come up as Pisces, which I'm quite surprised about. But I know that.
Well, don't tell me we got the wrong birth time.
I don't think we did.
Well, I hope to God we don't. I always check that first too. I got you born at 10:39 at night.
Yeah, 10:39 p.m. Yeah.
Well, this is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
the sun is here at sunset. Yeah. The sun is here at midnight.
Yeah. I didn't doubt your chart. I didn't doubt your chart. It was just really surprising to me.
No, I've done charts that are wrong. And I've gotten numbers wrong. I should have checked first thing with you. Let's go back to your birth chart some more, because there's a lot in it. You have a lot of ability. Singing should be a mainstay for the rest of your life. Don't even doubt that. I think one of the ways to deal with these past men in your life, that's a strong theme, is just compassion.
Mm-hmm.
because they were probably raised being beat.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
sensing. I'm
Mhm.
sensing that. Now, this is what's interesting up here. See, I can remember 1990 because I'm an old guy. And in 1990, these three planets were all going through Capricorn,
Mm.
Saturn, Neptune, Uranus. And there are a lot of kids that were born at that time. And it's when you have a strong Capricorn stellium like this, it's the opposite of jack of all trades. It's the opposite of doing all these different things. It wants you to settle down, start an industry, start a company, be a manager, be an officer, manage the thing and make it right. So there's a strong Capricorn trend in your chart that we have not discussed. So even though you're willy-nilly and you're doing all this stuff and you're kind of explosive and having all this fun, you've also got tremendous ability to be a manager, an owner of a company, a promoter of a certain type of institution. So you've got it. See, and what it all comes down to is what you said before. When you get all done with this stuff, it all comes down to early trauma. Because once we discover what the trauma is, we end up working in the field that's exact opposite. It takes the trauma to spur us on. And trauma shows up in the birth chart in this area, usually, and in this area. So we don't know for sure, but I'm suspecting Pluto is the number one trauma, which would have happened to you almost exactly when you're 8 years old. Because there's 8 degrees between this descendant and Mars and Pluto. So at age 8, I'm suspecting some things happened to you that were very scary.
Yeah, there was lots of times in childhood that was quite scary. There was lots of those occasions, and between 96 and about 2000 were particularly challenging years.
Well, one of the things about age 8 with Pluto, what Pluto does to little children is it teaches them about death. In other words, when you're little, you don't think about what death is. It might be something simple like watching the old movie Old Yeller where the dog dies and it's crushingly sad. So there could have been something, maybe you had to bury a cat in your backyard, something like that. It can be a book. But if something happened to you at age 8 that was very traumatic, and it had to do with death, and I wouldn't be surprised if you can't remember it.
I might not. I can remember a couple of things. I remember a young girl got stabbed in the house next door to us, and I can't remember how old I was then. I was either between 8 to 10, and I remember I've got a very vivid memory of there was a dead cat across the road for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was decomposing, and we were just kids, and we were like just messing about with it, I suppose.
Okay, now when you were 8 and that happened, it's not just a happenstance. What did that cause the change inside of you?
I think it took a little bit of away of my innocence and kind of brought to kind of in like a macabre interest.
Okay, now that makes
a long-standing interest in things that are macabre and
okay, that makes a lot of sense. And the interest in macabre, yes, you got that with Pluto Mars naturally. But do you think that has something to do with you today wanting to protect people that are innocent?
Yeah, definitely.
The Venus and Cancer too.
Yeah.
And that's how the trauma shows up in the birth chart. Okay? And that's just one of them. So let's go take a look, see if there are any others. But I'm suggesting to you that one was much more important than you realize.
Yeah.
Here's another one. 6H7. So we see just before that, Uranus hitting the midheaven at age 7. That would cause you to have to grow up real quickly. Like all of a sudden, have to start
Yeah.
growing up. What's
Mhm.
this about? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. My mum and dad split up around about that time, and my mum
Okay.
got a bit poorly.
And then we're saying complete shock when Uranus hits Saturn at age 15.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like real sudden having to grow up and pay the bills or
Yeah,
cook for the family.
yeah, my nana died when I was 14, and she really meant a lot to me. So then I went off the rails then, and I did a lot of drinking, I smoked a lot of cannabis. And then me and my mum really started falling out. And I met my son's dad at 15. And then I used to get kicked out a lot then. And then it was job from 16, pay boy after, when you've left school and things, which did help me in a sense, because I've always worked. I've always had things. Do you know what I mean? I've always had a job. So it prepared me for
Well, that's your Capricorn, thank goodness. So I want to ask you one thing here near the end. So if you were to turn around and talk to people that I don't know what you call high school there, if you were to turn around and talk to your mates, and what would you say to them now that you want them to see that you're really not what they thought, that you really are this instead?
Oh, aren't you gutted? Aren't you sorry that all those that I never turned out to be all those horrible things you said to me, and despite all the racism and backhanded friendship and that all kind of shady stuff, look at me now. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I was able to move forward from those traumas, and how you made me feel.
Well,
and I've still got a massive amounts for love for you at the same time. I know you knew no better at the time.
Yeah, Anita says a leader for others to follow.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You know what? I'm going to bring this to an end here and wrap it up, because I really don't want to open up too many more doors, because then it gets watered down. You've got the video to watch on YouTube as of late tonight. But I want to tell you a couple things. You are a powerhouse.
Thank you.
I'm not saying it's just to be nice. You are a powerhouse. You've worked through some very tough things. And I really try to educate people on the show about astrology. Sometimes in astrology, you see the Grand Cross. And I was told in 1971, when I was 19, that I'd never amount to anything because I had a Grand Cross and I would have nothing but trouble all my life, and I've gone on to read about 10,000 charts and made about 25 movies. So they were wrong, and they're wrong with you too. And I'm going to show people how Arroyo teaches us this, and the good authors teach us that sometimes charts that are really troubled. I told my girl before this reading, I said, all that trouble she's got with Venus in opposite net Saturn and Uranus. I said, she's either really withdrawn, a wallflower who cannot socialize, or else she's an expert at getting along with people, because you turn it around, because you have to work with it so much. I don't see any problems with you. I think you're going to be absolutely winning, victorious. I think that you've overcome, like you said, you've overcome a lot of really tough things. A lot of it's past life. And I do want to encourage you, don't just come out of this thinking it's astrology. You got to come out of this. You got to come out of this and establish this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you will. And I think there's no doubt. But this is something I'm trying to influence everybody now, because of this new age that we're in now. Don't let anybody give you any shit. I'm sorry. Don't let anybody tell you what's what. You know what the hell you're doing. You got a real clear conscience. You're very strong. And you can always come back to our show and tell me I'm wrong. But I really feel good about you, and we've really covered the main stuff. And I think you are to be commended. I really do.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate your time and this conversation. I think it's really going to help me. And
When I get there, I want you to take me to the pub.
Yes, definitely.
I walked into a pub in Ely. I was in Ely.
In
Right?
Ely.
I was in Ely at a pub, and I said, God, in America, you walk in a pub and you don't look at anybody. Who are you looking at? Everybody's so mean. You walk in a pub in England, let me buy you a drink, old buddy. And I just said, wow, that was just so nice. Second thing, I can't believe how big your pints are. Jesus. Give me a pint, man. That's a big one.
And there's women 4 foot something that'll drink more pints than a
man,
British man.
I tell you what, best meal I had in my life. Went to some lady's house. She turned her house into a restaurant, and she served me British beef stew. I about died.
Beef stew. You can't beat beef stew on a winter's night.
Oh God, it was wonderful. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to bring it to an end. You started our new year off right. I hope to see you more often with us whenever you can't sleep on a Thursday night.
Most certainly. Can't wait.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Bless you.
Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Brandon, everybody. Have a good year.
Good luck, Tyra.
Stay away from that virus.
I can see your podcast now.
What?
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you, YouTubers.